As everyone knows, I mean, Julius Baer is a global wealth firm. We've been around for the last 130 years. And I guess, I mean, no one was prepared for this, but it's definitely affected our brand, our marketing spends in a way that no one anticipated. Like I was telling you earlier, that our marketing budgets had to literally, our plan had to be changed completely. It was a 100% overall of our plan. So I think, so how has it affected our brand? In every way possible. So for example, typically the business that we are in, our RMs have face-to-face meeting with clients, because we deal with only ultra high net worth clients. And currently now that's obviously become online. So how do you close a deal that you would ideally have to meet the client a couple of times before closing the deal? Now you got to do that on Zoom or a phone call or FaceTime or whatever. So I think that is, from the business side of it, it's definitely affected our brand. RMs have now, and our RMs are pedigreed. They've been in the firm for the last 15, 20 years on average. So what tends to happen is they also have a different way of thinking. That's what they've done all their life. And so this has completely overhauled all of that, right? So everyone has to just kind of, look at it as, they just have to do it. They just have to go back and find a new way of, working. So that, on the brand aspect, that's definitely, affected us from the way that we do business, the way that we do work. But in terms of our marketing, I mean, we are a high touch business. So when I mean high touch, you need to have that physical interaction with your clients, because in the ultra high net worth space, we find opportunities as a marketing professional to get RMs to meet clients and meet them and interact with them, and get them to experience things they wouldn't have otherwise. But that has obviously, because of COVID, we've not been able to do that. So our marketing spends have now kind of changed. Our marketing plan has changed. Everything is digital. And of course our spends, because it's digital, and ideally we would have spent, let's say 100, we'll now spend 50 or less. I think digital allows you to also, it's more efficient. I mean, we've been doing this for the last 4 months, and I can tell you now that we're going to pivot to a 70-30 kind of digital physical format, from 70% being digital and 30% being physical. So I think that's how it's really changed, and it's been a very interesting ride, and we're learning along the way. I feel so companies really look at sponsorship. They deal with, for two reasons, right? They'll get on board if it deals with what they do or what they stand for. And in our case, we've been obviously barraged, just like everyone else, with a whole, basically companies took, let's say a media house, let's say a prominent, media house would come to you and say, hey, this is a sponsorship. They've taken the physical format and just put it digitally, right? And that doesn't seem to work, because the digital environment is really very, very different. People are, their attention spans are a lot lesser. You can't be staring into a screen. So for example, if they had planned for a panel discussion in a physical format for, say, an hour, they got to do that in 15 minutes. They need to have TED Talk formats where you have and there's a reason why you have that format, because on the digital environment, in the digital environment, it's very hard to focus and stay stay you know engaged for that long. So I think with sponsorships, I've not had too much luck with very interesting sponsorships. Um, um, but yeah, in terms of what are the I'm talking about the current environment, but if you typically look at why and why brands really and what kind of things they look for when they're looking for sponsorships, I think it's mainly about how it aligns with their brand in terms of the work they do, or how it aligns with how they would like to position themselves, right? So for us, because we are a ultra high net worth brand, um, we have interest in the arts, whether it's so anything to do with high culture, right? Arts, anything to do with sports, so really interesting sporting events. Julius Baer is the founding partner of the Formula E. So these are things that ultra high net worth clients look for. And it seems to kind of tie in with our brand and what we stand for, right? When it's in sports, in music, in art. So I think that's those are really things that companies look for when they're looking at sponsorships. If I am a wealth firm, but I will definitely evaluate a sponsorship that's coming from, say, a sporting event, provided it deals with my audience, right? And it kind of connects with my audience. That's really important. I also do believe that right now with COVID-19, this whole idea of taking a physical format and then making a digital format with no change in plan is not going to work. You need to find a better way to really engage with your partners. Absolutely. I mean, there is no doubt that brands are now going to look at virtual ways to connect with clients. The world was already going in that direction. I think COVID-19 has just moved us there a lot quicker. So if this would have taken us, say, 10 years, now it's taken us 4 months to get there. So definitely, we've also felt that we've been doing a lot of webinars, whether it's on Zoom or our own internal platform or WebEx or whatever they have, or whatever we have, and we've realized that it's such a great way to get to understand customer behavior, because in the physical format it's very difficult to record these things, right? Like when somebody comes to an event, we don't know whether they're liking it, whether they're not liking it. These things are it's almost like a guessing game. I think my client enjoyed it, or I think he enjoyed it, or you wait for some feedback. In the digital environment, everything has become, you get information exactly the way you want it. So when someone enjoyed it, how based on the participation, based on the amount of time they've spent on your platform, whether it's a webinar or whether it's a virtual summit. So absolutely, it's also very cost effective. I mean, if I had to hold an event at a 5-star hotel with 100 people, it would cost me upwards of 5 lakhs. If I had to do the exact same thing on a digital platform and get 200 people, double of the number I would have otherwise, it will cost me it'll be cost me 1/100th the amount, right? So I definitely feel this is going to be absolutely what companies are going to do. It doesn't matter which business you're in, it is going to be the new way of working, and definitely marketing plan as well. It's just going to be part of it. Agencies are still, I think, trying to grapple with this new reality, just the way the client is, right? But what tends to happen is that an agency has to really be more agile and start thinking 10 steps ahead of the client. If you really want the client to show interest, because otherwise the client is just going to, he knows his client, he knows who his base is, he gets a lot of information from there, and he's just going to run with an agenda. So I think, like I said, taking this digital format, taking this physical event and making a digital event with no change in an agenda will not work. You need to find a better way. So for example, if you have one-day summit, you cannot afford to do a digital one-day summit. Nobody is going to attend it. Make that, and take that meal and make it into a bite size. So in terms of content, your speakers need to really get to the point a lot quicker. Your moderator needs to know how to really ask those pressing questions. So those are kind of things so that's definitely one thing. um, I think agencies really need to start thinking a lot quicker than the client. Quicker, faster. They need to know what are the cutting edge things that will work. They also have, they have younger people. They have a whole, and they don't have any biases to work with, because they're not dealing with clients face to face. So they are literally, they can think out of the box. So thinking out of the box is something that agencies should continue to do, but do it in an interesting way, in a way that is possible, it's feasible. People are going to then say, oh yeah, like, you can't just come to me and say this is a great idea that's going to work. You have to try it, unless you need to. It has to be out of the box, but it also has to be workable. Is what I'm trying to say. And I think another thing is, right now, because I know budgets have been, most marketing spends have kind of shrunk by say 50% or more. Agencies are also grappling with that, right? Because their very existence depends on clients and their marketing spends. So I think going to a client with not a proposal, I think look at it as a more holistic approach, because the client is also figuring this out with you. So rather than going with one proposal at a time, like saying, oh, you know what, I have this for one conference, why don't you go in with an integrated plan? So for example, you say, if there's an agency X comes to the client and says, hey, we've understood your problem. These are the things we can do to help you. Rather than coming with just that whole one, like, the whole, one agenda, like just kind of coming with some solution just because you want to be, you want the client to hear you. Client is going to hear you if you genuinely come with a plan, come with an agenda, be more strategic in the way that you think. And I think with COVID, I think a lot of agencies are suffering with that. So I think 3 things I just have to highlight again. One is that don't take a physical format event and make it a digital event without changing the format. Please understand what works on the digital environment. 2 is, don't just come to a client with no agenda. Come with a complete strategic plan, saying this is why I suggested A or B or C, and why, and if A works, then what do we do from there on. And in general, just being more strategic, and we are working along with you. We understand the pains just as much as you do, and I think agencies have the whole strength of thinking out of the box. Think out of the box, but also make suggestions that really work. So because you're not going to spend your marketing dollar on something that is too outlandish just because it has to be. So those are my 3 tips for agencies.